Good morning to all of you. It's a great initiative on part of your organization and Pranjal to organize such an event. And I'm sure there will be active participation from the young students as well as others to take part in such a competition because most importantly, as we go along in our careers, communication skills are extremely important. And what you want to convey and what you actually convey are the two things which make all the difference. Because many a times I want to convey something, but I am the message which reaches across is different. You all must have heard about that famous game of Chinese whisper. Uh, what the first participant hears and finally what the last participant hears, there is a total difference. So it is very important for all of us not only to be good speakers, but also good communicators and as also good listeners. Many a times we forget that we have to be good listeners also because you may miss out the finer details of things. Supposing you are you have gone for an interview and the person who's interviewing is asking you a question and you don't allow him to complete his question and you start with your answer. Many times in exuberance it happens, exuberance of knowledge and exuberance of overconfidence. So these are the things you must all keep in mind. And my experience of life, as I have gone along, uh, nobody is a born orator. Nobody comes with these skills. These skills have to be acquired. And it's not difficult to acquire them. Let me tell you, when I was in school, I was extremely shy to even stand up and answer a question. That kind of self confidence and self belief was missing. This I developed over a period of time. This confidence in yourself comes with continuous practice. The more you practice, the more perfect you will be, as this as the saying goes, practice makes perfect. In the armed forces, why we do training and why we repeat a particular process time and again. We repeat it to get it into a muscle memory. Because once you encounter an enemy, there is no time to think. It is the muscle memory which carries you. Today, if our cricket team is playing in England and the players are there, the ball is coming from James Anderson at the speed of 145 kilometers per hour. At that speed, you just have a couple of seconds to either play on the back foot or on the front foot. And how you decide? It is a muscle memory. So you have to make yourself so good that what you want to do becomes a muscle memory for you. Like uh, they said that you never forget cycling, you never forget swimming. Even if I go for a swim after 10 years, I'll still be able to swim because it is in my muscle memory. So this is one message I want you to understand and for everybody to understand. The second experience of my life has been to handle a failure. We all can handle success. Most of us can handle success, but very few of us can handle a failure. And it is, remember, a failure is always a feedback for success, because you tend to analyze what caused that failure, why you failed. You tend to analyze that, and therefore it is important for you to understand that this failure has given me a feedback which suggests that in case I don't repeat this kind of a thing, I'll get success. Thomas Edison invented the electric bulb. He was successful in his attempt after 10,000 times. Somebody asked him, okay, what took you so long? And how did you carry on after 10,000 failures? He says, no, it was not a failure. It was 10,000 ways of trying to do something better. Because every attempt I did, I thought that maybe it's only a temporary setback. It's not a permanent setback. And this temporary setback will be only temporary, because thereafter it will be success for you. The next essence of my experience of my journey in life has been that try to combat your uncertainties, your apprehensions, your fears, because as you people are young, a lot of things in your mind to do, a lot of fears are there I can't do. Remember, your limit is only your imagination. There is no limit what you can do or cannot do. It's only your imagination. If you imagine big, you can achieve big. So always remember to have higher goals in life. Don't settle for anything lesser, because the more you think big, the big things will happen for you. This has been my experience. Various challenges came my way in life, and I conditioned my mind. Because see, if you have to achieve something which you perceive as impossible, you have to train your mind. You have to condition your mind for your mind to be strong. Taming of the monkey mind, as they say, is very important, because your mind will always be wavering. 10 thoughts are there in your mind and you don't know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So remember this important aspect of your life, that you must train your mind, make it stronger. Wing Commander Abhinandan, he shot down a F-16 aircraft of the Pakistan Air Force. He was in a MiG-21 Bison aircraft, which is four generations below an F-16 aircraft. It didn't have the avionics, it didn't have anything. But that did not deter him. It was something next to impossible. But he made the impossible into possible. So that is how you train your mind, you make your mind stronger to overcome each and every obstacle of your life, and you must think big. And the last point I wish to share with you with my experience is always set a goal for yourself in life. Goals are important. They can be short term, they can be medium term, and they can be long term. And goals have to be based on an acronym I'll give you, which is known as SMART, SMART. It means S stands for specific. You must be specific in your goals. M stands for measurable. You should be able to measure your goal as the progress of time goes along. A stands for achievable. Your goals you must be able to achieve your goals. R stands for your goals must redeem your thought. You must be able to redeem your thoughts and strengthen them as they go along. And T stands for time. Your goals, you have to lay down a time. For example, if you are appearing for an SSB exam to join the army, your goal should be, I will clear my SSB exam by December 2021. So it is measurable, it is timely, it is specific. So you must make your goals in this manner, and you must write it down, and you must paste it on the wall in the front of your study table. And every day you must read your goal and you must work towards it. If you remain focused, nothing can stop you. And finally, remember, whatever you do, you must have the passion in doing that. Just don't do it for the heck of it. You must have a passion in whatever you undertake. And in case you follow these principles of life, and I can tell you that I have followed them with a great deal of success. And I'm sure each one of you can also achieve success in this manner. Along with the success, you will also get happiness. So this is my message to all of you, my friends, my young friends. Wish you all the best for your competition, and don't worry about failure. If one of you is not getting a prize, it doesn't matter. You will get it next time. So take it that in your stride, and all the best. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for the beloved speech. So, sir, 2 to 3 questions were being asked by participants to be asked to you. So, sir, would you be able
Yes,
to?
yes. Yeah, pleasure.
Sir, so the questions are basically of the international affairs as well as the current national affairs. So, basically, the first question asked by one of our participant was, what is actually going on in the Taliban currently, and would it be affecting India in any ways?
Okay, very interesting. It's in the media, everybody is talking about it. See, you have to understand one thing, that Taliban does not have the writ of the people of Afghanistan. They are a militant group. They have taken over Afghanistan because the incompetence of the leaders of that country. The leaders had 20 years to strengthen themselves in that country. They had all the opportunities, all the financial aids. America was funding them for 20 years. So there has to be some hand-holding period. You can't be holding a hand of somebody. See, if you're a child, once you learn how to walk, your father or mother is not going to hold your hand. So what happened in Afghanistan was that these people became totally dependent upon the United States. They did not make themselves strong. You can imagine an army of 3.5 lakhs surrendering arms to 70,000 odd militants. How is it possible, you tell me? Can you imagine this happening with the Indian Army? So we have 50,000 troops on the China border. China has 50,000 troops. Have they been able to make us surrender? No. So you have to have the resolve as a nation, and that is the reason for the emergence of Taliban. Of course, Pakistan is playing a very important role in that. Pakistan is strengthening Taliban. It has strengthened Taliban in the last 20 years. Today, Taliban is very strong, and Pakistan is going to dictate the terms in Afghanistan now. All the Pakistani terrorist camps will shift to Afghanistan. It will be a great concern for India because we will not be able to launch any surgical strikes into Pakistan because the terrorist camps will actually move to Afghanistan now. And from Afghanistan, these terrorists are going to be trained and pushed into Kashmir. And China has an important role to play because Pakistan economically is very weak. So China is going to play an important role in Afghanistan. So the China factor, the Pakistan factor is very important for what is happening in Afghanistan today. People may say that Afghanistan does not have borders with us. Fine, this argument is okay. But Pakistan and China have borders with us. And Pakistan and China are going to create a terrorist state in Afghanistan because Afghanistan without aid cannot survive. Today, the GDP of Afghanistan is 80% based on foreign aid. And if this foreign aid will stop, from where the money will come to run the country? People are going to starve. Refugees are going to go all over. People have already started leaving Afghanistan. Their own people are leaving Afghanistan. So you can imagine this situation is going to spiral into a headache for the Indian subcontinent. Yeah.
The second question asked by another delegate was that the issue of India-China, which was held in Galwan Valley. So basically heard was that there was a total mass gathering of both the military groups, and then later meet solved them, and both of them pushed back. So there, sir, is there any other thing to be explained in that? So sir, is there going to be any other issue prevailing after that? A delegate has asked this question, sir.
You see, yes, the China-India issue is not resolved. The boundary dispute is still on because there is no agreement on the demarcation of the line of actual control, or the LAC as they call it. And that is the reason China carries out incursions on a regular basis. So earlier the governments were weaker. They allowed these incursions to take place without a retaliatory response. This time it has been a stronger government, a stronger resolve. We have given them back. Kailash Heights were occupied by us. It gave us a bargaining power for the Chinese, and that is how the Chinese have withdrawn from the Gongshu area. But what happens in the other areas? So, and especially in the Depsang Valley and Gogra Heights and Hot Spring area, where China is at an advantageous position. And that is why it is not moving back, because it is occupying the heights. And in mountains, if you occupy the heights, you will dominate your enemy areas. So that is the reason it is not moving out. Number of talks are on, because you have to understand that it's not possible to stay on these heights for a very long time. It's already been a year. Chinese troops are not that strong or used to those terrains in the mountains. So I feel it's a matter of time. Uh, Disputes which had taken place earlier also took a number of years to resolve. This will also get resolved, but I think it should take time. Yeah.
So, sir, the third question is basically asked by a delegate as well as for my personal interest too. So the question is basically whether India is strategically going upwards in this position. So, sir, what is there going to be international resolution towards Taliban? Like all the countries would be like introducing some tough measures against Taliban, and what role will be India playing towards it?
See, right now it is a policy of wait and watch, because Taliban has been supported by the United States. The United States have had an agreement in Doha with the Taliban, and certain parts of the agreement have to be adhered by the Taliban. So, in case the Taliban is not going to follow those laid down agreements, then the world opinion will go against Taliban, because right now the kind of signals the Taliban leadership is sending out is positive to that extent that they want the progress of the country. They will give women a place in society as they deserve it. And they have already announced for the women to join back in the government jobs. They are making these statements, but what happens is Taliban is in two parts. So one is the political wing and one is the military wing. The military wing is right now playing rogue. A political wing, whatever it is stating, it's not happening on the ground. And if it continues in this manner, you will find the world opinion going against it. The aid has already been stopped to Afghanistan. It can only resume in case Taliban plays up. So everybody is watching the situation, and much will depend upon the way Taliban lays down its cards on the table. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, this was the third question, and the last final question asked by one of our curious delegate was that it is basically about the Indian Army, sir. So basically, the question is whether Indian Army's capability. So, sir, down that India's army is in the UN peacekeeping missions, and some other quotations given by some major generals of other countries. So, sir, what actually is the capability of Indian Army according to you?
See, the Indian Army is an extremely modern army. It is not the army of 1962. So you must remember that we have the latest equipment with us. We have the best tanks in the world. We have the best gun in the world, artillery gun. And we have the best soldiers in the world. And we are the fourth largest army in the world. And so we as an army are capable of defending the borders of the country from any kind of threat. At the same time, modernization is a evolutionary process. Things keep on, technology keeps on getting upgraded. So every army would like to have the latest in its weaponry, and that is how this Make in India has started. That is how the corporatization of the ordnance factory has started, and that is how the defense reforms have been initiated by the government. So we have shortfalls right now in certain areas. We are looking at it, and it's a time-consuming process, because anything which has to be upgraded or anything which has to be discarded, for example, we require 42 squadrons of the Indian Air Force. We have only 32 squadrons. So there is a shortfall of our 10 squadrons. So now we are getting the Tejas Mark II. We are getting MiG-29. We are getting Rafales. So it's a matter of time, say about 4 to 5 years, where this deficiency will also get addressed. Similarly, the Navy requires submarines, destroyers, corvettes. Navy has got a shortfall of about 40 to 50 warships. So this will also take its time. It's already there. We have our shipbuilding yards, and we have the capability to manufacture our own ships. So this process is on. The third is the Indian Army is wanting higher mobility platforms for its guns. So we are making up this shortfall as far as the artillery is concerned. We have the Dhanush gun, which has come up now. It's even better than before, and it is manufactured by the ordnance factory. So like that, it's an evolutionary process, and be rest assured the Indian Army is capable and strong enough to defend our country. Thank you.
Final message. What's the one final message you would like to give to the participants who are, they are dreaming to be representing India in different matter of concerns, like some want to be, present politically, some want to be present diplomatically in some major positions. So, sir, what one, you could say the key term would you like to express it to them?
Yeah. Remember that 65% of the population of our country is below 35 years of age. So you young people, we need you. The country needs you. In whatever field you are there, please try to get as much skills as you can. The country needs skillful people today. Each one of you, in whatever field you are, you must endeavor to skill yourself with your competencies. So my message to everybody is, the country needs each one of you. The country needs each one of you to be skilled in whatever work or profession you are. You must try to get your perfection, and that will only come through hard work. Work hard and success is yours. Thank you.